Hey guys, I wanted to share something that I think if you really struggle with self-esteem and trying to love yourself, I've had some of those issues too, a lot, and I've really been digging deep over the last several years, and I discovered something called the Course in Miracles, which has been really great and incredibly helpful for me. Um, and I wanted to share some of the concepts in an overarching view of life, so to speak, that I think may help you grasp um, a better foundation to really care about yourself and build up your self-esteem and confidence. If you got any questions about this, feel free to reach out, but I hope this helps. So here's the overarching theme and some of the ideas here, okay? So um, at some point in time, I'm going to just share this. Like, there's two parts here. We have life that's based in fear and life that's based in love. Whether you want to call that God, love, universe, whatever you want to call it, it's the lightness and then the darkness over here. And majority of life is usually spent until you can reach the lighter part. 80% is spent in fear or some sort of maybe shame or self-doubt or whatever. So here's the concept, right? Is that at some point we forgot who we are. We forgot that we are love. We forgot that we're part of God, like all of this, right? And if the word God, bugs you, don't worry about it. I think the overall concept can be very helpful. So at some point, we created our egos in life. And our egos, our ideas, our thoughts, they're very self-centered around who we are. And they're generally like they pull down. They're like a force of nature that generally go towards the dark or the fear, within life. And in this idea that concept is that everything else is separate from us. Everybody else is wrong, bad. Everybody else is on the other side of the fence. The grass is always greener. Like all of this, these kind of concepts are based in this. And it all goes back to this separation moment, which could be called the Big Bang, or it could be called, the Adam and Eve moment. Like all of these. I don't really know, but all I know is what feels really true for me is that this ego is very self-centered, tons of negative thoughts, and they just want to beat us up and they want to call us pieces of crap, and they don't help us to really feel, the love and of who we actually are, right? So that's the overarching concept. I'm going to walk through some principles and ideas to the next 3 pages. Don't you love my beautiful artwork here? So at some point you were born into this world. And if you look at babies and you really think about babies, they don't have any problem expressing their emotions. They cry, they laugh. They don't look at their bodies and go, oh, look at my little, Buddha belly. I'm such a piece of crap. They don't care. They just do not care. They are just happy bundles of love and joy, right? But at some point, around year 2 or 3 or 4 or something, they get some type of concept of identity. This is mine. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've seen a 2 or 3-year-old. They get really upset, really pissed off. Don't take my Barbie doll away from me. That's mine. That's mine. That's mine. That's when the ego, I think, is born or starting to be created. And it's this whole idea of separation. I am this, I am that. The whole world is their whole world is starting to be created right there. And it started to be formed and cemented in what they think they are, what you might think you are. Like for me, I was a piece of crap. I was fat. I was all of these things, right? And that starts in young adulthood, okay? And you put on this view of life with these glasses, which are a big giant illusion that you think is absolutely 100% true. And people will kill for this. People will murder other people literally because they think they're right and they think they're absolutely true, or their ideas are. And when they start to view the world a little differently, things start to dissipate and start to see some things differently. So That's basically the ego, and it's got this downward negative force on life, on view of you, and on a view of others. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to share is this projection, the concept of projection. Projection onto yourself, projection onto other people. And I'll share my story. So my story as a little kid was that I was fat and chubby, husky pants, husky kid, and I didn't have a lot of self-worth at all. And I got really, I wanted to get really physically fit, and so I started losing weight. But then I never really healed the thoughts in my mind or the original idea that I was a fat, lazy piece of crap. And I kept that, but my body looked different. My body was skinny, my body was muscular, like all of that. But internally, I still called myself a piece of crap, an idiot, like all of that stuff. But here's the thing where projection comes in. Because that thought is never truly healed or forgiven of yourself, you or I would project that onto other people. So anytime I saw someone who was overweight, I would be like, they're fat, they're wrong, they're bad, they need to lose weight, they need to get on the treadmill, they need to go running, they need to do sit-ups, like all of that. And it was all from this energy of like, they're wrong, they're bad, which is just me projecting all of my unhealed ideas onto someone else. And anytime that happens, for me now, it's an opportunity for me to forgive myself and that little inner child that got made fun of as a little kid. And as I do that, I really start to care for myself more from that like godlike love energy, and I start to see other people as wonderful and awesome, even though they could be heavy or they could be whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't see them like that anymore because I'm not seeing myself like that. So that's what projection is. So if you've got any thoughts where you're seeing other people and you're angry and you're upset at them, there's something about yourself that's probably unhealed. And it's one of the hardest things to do because there's some self-acceptance and some self-realization of like, man, I did that. And it's tough, right? So I'm going to go into the next thing. So if you're going through life, our ego keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it hits a brick wall. And sometimes that brick wall never goes away and we just die, right? Until we start to realize, why is my life not working the way I want it? And so resentment starts to come in and you start to blame other people and you start to really blame the family in your life and other races and other countries, and this is why the world isn't working, this is why things are bad and wrong. And it's this whole hurricane of an ego just pulling you down into darkness, and it's separating you from the love of God, it's separating you from the universe. And here, see these little things here? These are the brick walls. I think this is basically the ego turned sideways, and it's a brick wall, and there's opportunities to break this down. Let me share this in the next one. So if you don't do anything about it, if you just sit there and you resent people and you hate them and you feel guilty and shameful about some of the things that you've been doing, but really not wanting to do anything, you end up feeling super alone. You end up feeling not part of life. And it sucks. And this is when people will commit suicide. They'll get really depressed, and they just won't do anything. And then they just go through life, and then they die, and they're not very happy. And they know underneath, there's something that's underneath they know is possible, but they're unable to get through this. Some people call it the devil. I call it the ego, whatever. I think it's all very similar. And here's where things can start to get good. So if you're open, and once I was open to vulnerable moments where someone told a story, someone told a story of forgiveness, or where I got to see that, I'm not alone. Maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe I don't have everything. Maybe I'm not right. But it made me go, It was kind of like a crack in the ego, right? And when you have these vulnerable moments, what you really feel is, if you've ever heard the story of like a real forgiveness, like a father who forgave his son's murderer, or, like these other moments where it's like, oh my God, that's like, I could never do that. What is underneath that is like real love, like real love. And you just feel it. And it's like, something's there. So as you go through this like moment, you start to realize maybe a little bit of light gets in, maybe a little love, and you start to see things a little bit differently. And you start to realize maybe I'm not alone. Maybe, just maybe. But it's all up against, your ego and all these thoughts and beliefs and views of the world, right? And you start to think, maybe I should try that. But fear still holds you back because you might have to admit something. You might have to do something differently. And you think that, wow, I might be embarrassed by all that. And it really keeps you in this trap. And it's really hard. So as you open up, and if you decide to open up, my belief is that, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, keeps giving you opportunities to see yourself and see who you really are and some of the greatness that you have within you. And I call them these little love bombs. But when they show up in your life, I used to think of them as like, could never do that. Like mine was the story of rejection. Every time I'd want to go ask a woman out, I'd feel super resistant, super like, oh God, I can't do that. Nope, run in the other direction. Or ask for a sale for business. Nope, not an opportunity. I'm going to run the other direction. And now I see it as an opportunity for me to start to break down that brick wall. And as I've done that, this whole separation from, love, God, universe, like gets more and more open, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And it's really cool. So if you can start to see where you're resistant in your life and see them as opportunities to open up, man, it's really cool. And so the more action, less resistance, more open, it helps you become forgive faster and forgive others faster, forgive yourself faster, and just really see the opportunity there. And so in the next part, I'm going to share special relationships. So special relationships are a biggie. So special relationships can be defined as, the lover in your life or maybe your mother or father figure.Ose are generally it. And a lot of times in life, they are a cover-up or a projection of if I have this person, they're going to complete me. They're going to give me everything I ever needed because I'm not good enough. And the other person's doing the same way. So then you have this codependent relationship. And if someone dies or someone starts doing things that are really triggering, you get, they got to go, right? Or, if they pass away, and then this person over here is left with this, oh my God, I'm worthless, I'm horrible, I'm bad, I'll never find it, because they really think they're not good enough, because the ego is running the show and thinks that they're separate and bad and wrong and not good enough. And it's all based in guilt and shame and fear. And if you listen to love songs, almost all of them have like this neediness feeling, right? It's like, I need you, or I have to have you, or blah, blah, blah. They're all basically idols. You've put someone up on a pedestal because you don't feel good enough about yourself. And not from like egoic, but like really like a purity, like you don't feel you're good enough. So when you can start to really see yourself as someone who is worthy, as someone who is worthy of love, worthy of, universal love, God love, whatever, then you can start to see that you don't need this person, but they can become a partner in your life and support you. And sometimes the same goes for parents, we do it as little kids, we do it as children, and we put them up on a pedestal. And for me, I put my mom on a pedestal, and I had to, fix her life, and I had to become super successful so my mom would love me, and that ran my life, and I had to get really, really, really successful in order to prove that I'm right, and then I could have all of her love when my mom could really give a crap if I made, tons of money. She just wanted me to feel loved from her. That's it. And I think that's the same exact thing, God wants for you. He's just like, you're good enough. You're awesome. Duh. Go ahead, go be happy, right? So anyways, if you've got any of these going on, which almost all of us do, it's really important to remember that your thoughts are the very starting point. And what you think is all created basically from your ego. And that the more and more you get sucked in to that, whole hurricane of a system, it will just keep you down. And the one way through this is, is really starting to open up to opportunities, open up to being of service of other people, and like starting to focus on other people, and really starting to see your worth inside of that. And I hope this helps. I kind of went through this fast. I just kind of got these concepts on some paper today, and I wanted to share them. So if you hate yourself and your self-esteem's low, just know you're worthy. Talk to you later.